Trying to think of something witty to say.
Chatri.
Well, I guess I should just introduce this little thing then, huh?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, bitch? What's going on, guys? It's LazyBed here. This is the Sunday night motherfucking Scuffle, brought to you by Just Bleed Radio. What is this show? I don't really know what this show is. This is just something that we do every week, and we do it for the fuck of it. And that's about the gist of the whole thing. As I said, I'm LazyBed. Joining me, as usual, as always, are my boys, DangerMouse and Austin, a.k.a. No Special, who's finally back in the fold after a long hiatus where we missed him very dearly, and we're so happy to have him back. So happy to have his hot, fiery, passionate takes back on the program. So, guys, what is going on this lovely Sunday? How's everybody doing?
Well, we've just been talking about the UFC that took place in Tennessee. So for this show, I'm locked and loaded with a Jack Daniels limited edition McLaren bourbon orange crush. So yeah, that's my tipple for the evening for anyone who cares to take a note of my alcohol consumption. I'm looking forward to talking some shit and adding at least 7 seconds to the start of this video.
Yes, you sure are. Austin, how you doing, man? You're back with us. How's it going, brother? Did you die?
Bluetooth death.
I assure you, he is here, guys. He is with us. I'm not lying. Maybe he left the chat. I don't know. I think he left the chat.
Hear me?
There he is. He's fucking back.
I don't know what happened. Apparently, my Bluetooth is just not responding today. So, regardless, I am doing great and happy to be here. It's been a minute, and I missed you, sons of bitches. Aww. So we are here.
We gotta add in the little background crowd fucking noise. Oh,
no.
As you wish.
All right, so yeah, this is the fucking Sunday night Scuffle, and typically what this show entails is we each bring a question or a few questions to the table, and those questions are not known to the other panel members. They get proposed, they get mentioned, they get brought up, and we try to come up with some answers or some thoughts right here on the spot. So I don't have anything at all prepared. Maybe I can think of something, but do you guys got anything burning that you want to ask?
I can jump in first if you like. It'll give you both a bit of time to think.
Absolutely.
Please go. By all means.
Okie dokie. Right, a few weeks ago, or it might have been a month or two ago, I don't exactly remember, in the Luke Thomas live chat, there was a guy who asked what if you could choose two martial arts that were not represented in UFC 1, which would you choose? And I said Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, which is what I trained in, and also Michael Bisping, of course, mentioned it before. And I would have added Muay Thai on top of that. That gives me 2 levels of striking, some grappling. The guy who asked the question said Judo and Muay Thai. And I think with Kayla Harrison and now this guy, I forget his surname, the Korean Mike Tyson, the guy who beat Lazy's favorite Oban Elliott, and both these people, and both related to Lazy there, obviously. With both of them showing absolutely fantastic judo skills, is this now the art that fighters should be starting to learn? Because fighters don't seem to have the greatest defense for it. We see these little trips. There's quite a few fighters who incorporate them into their game. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I know I've seen a couple of guys. So yeah, that's the basics of it. Is judo the art people should start looking at more?
Austin, you're the grappler. You go ahead and answer first.
It depends on what context, I guess. If you have somebody who is a striker, judo probably works for them because it's less ground control and more hip and clinch control and trips with takedowns, and the takedowns are usually more direct with a result to a finish. Wrestling requires a lot more energy, and it's not so much about momentum and as much as it is technique. It is usually a more taxing thing to pick somebody up and slam them, or look for a double leg takedown to a single leg takedown, high C to a head and arm toss. It is much more of a skill to find good timed trips and then capitalize on that with offense with your judo. I'm not going to say that one is better than the other. I would just say it depends on the fighter. If you're a striker, your wrestling will be fine, but you're going to be limited because of the offense that you have to work with your wrestling. If you're going to be a judo practitioner, it might be better if you're like a Muay Thai striker or somebody who generally looks at the aspect of grappling as a secondary instead of your primary, using it as opportunities to land offense. I would say that's probably what you're looking for. And if it's not going to be your primary, judo probably works better for you, not so much like as jiu-jitsu does or as sambo may be, but because you're going to need more of a offensively grappling heavy style for sambo to begin with. But I would say if you're looking at judo's definitely a good base to have for sure.
All right, I'm going to pick you up on a couple of little things there. I think I happened to watch earlier this week. There was a Sensei Seth. I don't know if you ever watch him. He's a bit pally with Wonder Boy as it happens, but yeah, Sensei Seth on YouTube, and he'd done a video where some guy had invited him over because the guy was taking his third dan at judo, and he wanted someone to come over and help him out, basically be a body for him to throw around. And when Sensei Seth got there, he was like, "Okay, what we're going to do? You're going to throw me around a bit." And the guy was like, "Yeah, I'm going to throw. I've got 100 techniques to practice on you." He was like, "Oh shit," because about 40 of those are what I would describe as throws. In fact, what the judo describes as throws. Also, I have to throw this one. At the start of my black belt grading, we had to do 25 straight throws. And when we practiced them in our own dojo, we'd do about 40. So, but then on top of that, there were all the other little takedown techniques. And they were showing stuff I've never seen before in judo. And some of those were very similar to kind of double leg takedowns in wrestling. And there is also a tiny little bit of striking in judo. They don't do very much, but it is there tagged on at the end of the art. And the actual grappling and ground control is a heavy part of judo. You get points for, just as you do in wrestling, for holding someone down or getting submissions and all the rest of it. So I'm picking up Austin up a little bit there. I think he's perhaps underestimating how complete judo can be. I'm not saying it's the best art in the world.
That's what I mean. But that's what I was saying is like it would probably help more of a striker than say somebody who's more of a ground practitioner to add judo to their repertoire. That's what I mean. And Muay Thai I think would be better for that suit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Lazy, any thoughts on this one?
Well,
you've got Kayla Harrison, remember?
Yeah. And I think that you both. It was kind of nice to hear Austin go first, and then you to kind of add on to it, being that you do have Austin coming from a wrestling background, you coming from a bit of a judo background there. Because I did not realize that judo, did consist of parts of its game being ground control and double legs of a sort or things like that. Because I was kind of thinking like, the real upside to judo and judo training, as opposed to something like a wrestling, might actually be that it could be a bit less taxing and less strenuous on the body, the years of practicing, the years of training. Because I feel like that kind of that's the downside of wrestling, is it really breaks down the body over the years. Every older wrestler that you encounter's got bad knees, they got a bad back, they got a bad neck. Like, it's super common. So maybe I was gonna say, like, maybe judo, because it is less taxing on the body perhaps than a wrestling, it could be practiced more and you could maybe become better at it without destroying yourself in the process. But the downside I was kind of thinking is that, at least from what I've seen in judo, in mixed martial arts, which mainly comes from women, is it seems to consist of a lot of upper body grappling, a lot of even above, shoulders and above grappling. It's a lot of head and arm throws and things of that nature that we've seen time and time again kind of result in you getting your back taken. And because it is mixed martial arts and what's legal is legal, it can kind of put some of the at least the women fighters that I've seen using judo into disadvantageous positions because they wind up giving up the back. But now knowing what you've kind of said there, DangerMouse, I suppose that's probably just bad practice and people not utilizing the maneuvers and techniques correctly. So when you do look at somebody like a Kayla Harrison, it becomes pretty clear, like, yeah, done right and at a high enough skill level, it can be very, very useful. I would agree that it's probably better as a secondary like skill set and tacked on to some sort of primary striking skill set, whereas Kayla Harrison's kind of opposite. She's a judo practitioner first and then a striker second. But yeah, I think that I can't think of another martial art that would be better, like unless maybe a sambo, but if
What's
it's not
already here.
wrestling, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, for injuries, I think judo maybe would be the same as jiu-jitsu, where they practice that in a gi, where you're getting your hands messed up grappling and holding onto a jacket all the time. But yeah, it's probably less intensive than than wrestling. But yeah, if we go back again, look at Ronda when she first popped up onto the scene and just armbarred the death out of everybody. Obviously, she was in the same situation as Hoist Gracie back in the day when he first fought in UFC 1, and no one knew what the fuck they were doing. But yeah, so yeah, clearly it can be used. That's all I wondered. How much importance we'll see of it in the future, and I think we will see a bit more of it.
I think that's a good point though too, because it really comes down to how useful are the different techniques of the martial art. And I think that judo does have a lot of techniques that can be useful in a cage fight, like you said, with a Ronda Rousey type of scenario. And you kind of see now, like even still today, if you can get ahead of the curve on something even as simple as like a technique that others aren't using or aren't hip to yet, you can really start to get ahead. And we sort of saw that last night with a Walter Walker, like his heel hold and and his ability to attack the legs and the feet of these heavyweights. It's something that they've not become accustomed to yet, and they're not versed in how to defend it. So yeah, I mean, you could potentially say, and this is just continuing on with the initial part of what you were saying, there might be another martial art that you could say would be more useful than a judo, but I think that's a fairly good one to choose. Interesting. All right. Well, I still don't have a question, but maybe you do, Austin. What do you got? What are you thinking?
If you don't,
thank you for making me go next. I got one that I just am pulling out of my ass right now. With the new TV deal set to hopefully be negotiated within this year, UFC is still currently on ESPN Plus. And we still have no hard line date or anything to be announced as of yet. The UFC's future, as far as it being broadcasting, could be multiple different things, multiple different suitors, some more so than others, some more willing to only nitpick at certain things, aspects. UFC also dishing out a lot of apex level events, as we would say. What are not your things, the predictions of where it's going to go, more or less, but in the new deal that we get, regardless if it's still with ESPN or some menagerie of, multiple, broadcasts that we have to also follow and get subscriptions for, or maybe they just switch their home base to another place where you already have a subscription. What are 3 things you would like to see and 2 that are must-haves for the next deal?
Ooh, I got a feeling this is a me before mouse question.
Yeah, I think that.
Well, two things that I must have on the new deal. And the first one is one that I already know I'm not going to have, so it's kind of even stupid to even mention and bring up. But it would be a must-have for me, and it's a potential deal breaker for me going forward for them. I'm not going to. It could result in them losing some money from me, but I don't want to incriminate myself. The number one for me would be keeping all of your product in one place, all of your content in one place on one platform. I do not want to have to pay and subscribe to 3 different streaming services to get pay-per-views, fight nights, and Apex shows, or whatever the case is, however they split it up. I don't want to have to do that. So many other sports do that. It's a pain in the fucking ass. It's hard to figure out, for one, like as a viewer, where to find what you need to watch. It's a process in that aspect, and it's also obviously more costly. But from what I understand, it's definitely going to be split up. So that my number one is already out the window. My number two for what I must have would be better matchmaking, or at very least better bout ordering on these cards. I think a lot of the problem with some of these shitty events that we're getting, these less entertaining cards where it feels like it goes on for fucking 12 hours, is not necessarily a lack of talent in the UFC. It's not having too many low-level guys on the roster and it being bloated. I think it's just bad matchmaking from Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby. I think it's just not setting up the correct fight styles against each other, not ordering these cards in the right succession, or however you want to word it. I think that if they started pairing these guys up better, putting styles make fights, putting the right styles of fighters against one another, and not having heavyweight main events or so many middleweight main events, like start having some of the smaller weight classes compete, I think that the product would really improve. So those are my two main things I would like to see. Keep all the content in one place and have better matchmaking and bout ordering on these cards. As far as 3 things I would like to see, I'll try to keep it brief. Start signing more of the talent that exists, that's out there, that you're unwilling to sign because you don't want to pay the price tag. Like, start using your money and your fucking capital as this giant monopoly to actually bring in some of this prime talent while they're still in their prime and can be matched up in fights we would like to see. 2, allow for more freedom once again with the fighters, with their fight kits and sponsorships, and just some individuality. And 3, less events. I would like to see more quality over quantity. I don't need to have a card every single weekend. I can take a weekend off a month as long as I get some better fucking fights.
Yeah. All those points agreed. If I had a gavel, I'd bang it. Yeah, much agreed, because that's a lot of what you said is how I felt as well. That's why I was very supportive of them being on ESPN. Everything in one place. I remember when they were on not only Spike TV but Fuel TV, FX. I think they had before it was Fuel TV. I think it was after it was Fuel TV. It was like Versus or something like that. And then just having to chase down when the things were on, because I think even then they were on Fox for a good minute. Like Fox, like sports, just not even getting the full broadcast sometimes because a baseball game would go long. Right? Now they're priority in their own ESPN Plus bubble, which is fine. Now they seem to, if it is true that they are looking to uproot that and just disperse it, that is a good way to kill your audience viewership for sure. Mouse, yourself.
Yeah, I think here in the UK we're a bit blessed because we pretty much get all our UFC on TNT. But I don't know if that's going to change, obviously. If that changes, then there's going to be a lot of pissed off UK fans, I would imagine, because UK fans are not going to start spreading their money all over the place. I don't think, not in the same way that American fans do. So that's something I would like to see somewhere where American fans also can get everything, kind of as you've already both said, in one place.
Yeah.
Which brings me on to the other point, which links into the UK model. The UK model is mainly subscription. There's occasionally really, really big fights. They'll stick a pay-per-view ticket price on it, like 25 quid or something, $30, $40 equivalent. You're under the pond. And I'd like to see the complete end of it. Do away with the pay-per-view model. It's no longer relevant in this day and age. Streaming is where it's at. You get people onto something. Ideally, everything should be on something like, I guess, like Amazon or Netflix or wherever the hell, somewhere. That seems to be the model of the day. But Dana, of course, is terrified of being pirated, which I'm sorry, Dana, get fucking used to it, because it's never going to not happen to you. That's always going to happen. So yeah, that kind of links in, I guess, for one. And seeing as I've talked about Dana, that I might as well go to the second one, and that's I'd like to see a new face for the UFC. Sorry, Dana, you're old, you're tired, you've done an amazing job. You're on my Mount Rushmore of MMA, without a shadow of a doubt. You've done amazing things for this sport, but it's clearly now that your attention is elsewhere. You're more interested in boxing. You're more interested in slap fighting. So step aside. Let Hunter Campbell take over the face of the organization, and let the UFC move on with someone who's more enthusiastic about, as Lazy has said, getting us better fights, better fighters, and just taking more interest in the game as a whole. And I'm struggling to think of a third one after kind of cleaning house with that, because the first one kind of links into two, I guess. Yeah, like Lazy, actually, I would be happy with having a night a month off and not having some fights to talk about, or maybe just so that we one night a month for us, we'd be talking about the next upcoming UFC 320, 325, whatever the hell we're talking about, rather than having to do a show about the shitty fight that we saw the previous evening, which was dull, and we all scored at 5.5 or whatever the hell. So yeah, I guess that covers me for 3.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, and if you're talking about the UK model where it's like it's a subscription based, you're even that, honestly, like having it where the pay-per-view doesn't cost $85. By itself. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what we pay for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, the UK subscription will be roughly about the same price as a pay-per-view, but you're also getting, of course, all the other channels that service offers and all the other sporting events, plus you get your UFC on top of it. So
yeah, because that's the thing, is that we still have other sports that come. I'm a ESPN Plus subscriber, so what we usually get is a bunch of like just the base version of ESPN Plus that doesn't include the other sports, like as you can't watch college football on it without getting any other channel. Anytime wrestling's on, it's also an additional channel that you have to purchase or additional package. There's basketball on it occasionally. College basketball was a big thing this year, and they try to push that as well. There's multiple packages that ESPN Plus happens to push, and when it's available, and they usually only push that. You can watch tennis, you can watch golf, you can watch F1. There's like other things that are going to be on there, but there's also multiple packages you have to watch just to get it. And that's the thing where it's like, okay, I'm paying ESPN Plus to watch fights. PFL and UFC are on there. That's fine. I can watch a pay-per-view or a random boxing night if I need to, but I'm primarily going to be watching the UFC. And with all the lecturing that we can do about, we want the UFC to do this. The UFC is going to do whatever their bottom dollar designs from the higher ups, as long as Ari Emanuel can get like the near billions that he's looking for to make the revenue for this company. And then, you can see someone like Cristiano Ronaldo make a salary that of which is worth the entire roster of the UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not undeserved, but it's just funny when you kind of look at the aspect of it, and then you think about how these the gentlemen, including Dana himself now, run the UFC not in the interest of fight fans, but what makes them their most, bottom dollar. and not so much what the fans want, and that's fine. We get it, but don't be mad when the fans leave. Yeah, neither here nor there.
Well, I got a feeling.
shareholders.
Yeah, I got a feeling when this shit shakes out, it's not going to shake out well for the fans. I think it's going to shake out really well for them. I think that our Ari Emanuel and Dana White and company they're gonna make a lot of fucking money, and they're going to be very happy. But I do think that it's going to end up getting split across multiple platforms. I think they're going to follow the same blueprint that's been set by the NFL and the NBA, and they're gonna want multiple TV rights deals, not just one. Especially Conspiracy Corner now with this White House talk and the potentiality of a White House card available to be broadcast on your platform, on your network next year. They're gonna have a very broadened pool of bidders reaching out to try to be the one to host UFC events. So yeah, I think it's going to be spread out across multiple platforms, and that's going to fucking suck. But what are we going to do? It is what it is. At this point, we just got to kind of take whatever they fucking will offer us and bend over and accept it.
Like Oliver Twist, please, sir, can I have some more?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, yeah, that actually kind of leads me into a question that I did think of while we were talking about that. So, guys, we are, 6 days away now? 6 days away from the final walk of one Dustin Poirier. He's going to make that final walk in his hometown down in New Orleans. They are going to roll out the red carpet for him. I'm sure it's going to be a no expenses spared experience for the Diamond down there for his last dance in the Bayou. But my question really is, Dustin Poirier, he's very beloved. He's a huge fan favorite, not just inside of the cage, but also outside of it as well. Guy's got a good personality. He's pretty well spoken. Clearly, has a marketable look, et cetera, et cetera. They've already had him on the desk several times, doing desk duty in the studio and on location for various events. So I guess my question to you guys really is, the UFC clearly isn't going to want Dustin to just walk and ride off into the sunset and never offer them anything again. They're going to want to keep their hooks in him somehow. That's how they operate. So what do you guys think is the best role for Dustin Poirier going forward? Supposing he does retire and the retirement sticks, and the UFC wants to keep him around, do you think they just keep him on the studio desk? Would you like to see him maybe in a color commentary role on occasion? Start him out on Contender Series? Would you like to see him in a fighter liaison role, kind of working with other fighters? Like, he seems to be a man of many talents, and he's a beloved guy. So what would you like to see the UFC do with Dustin Poirier going forward?
Do you want to go first, or shall I, Austin? I don't mind out the way.
Go ahead, because I think I need to think onto this one a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dustin Poirier, as you said, beloved of the UFC. And I think we can clearly prove that because the fact that his retirement fight is taking place in Louisiana, his hometown, and who the fuck else does the UFC do that for? You're lucky if you get a retirement package from the UFC after you've given your sweat and blood for them for 10 years. And here's Dustin getting a show at home against a great fighter. It's a great matchup. I saw something, I forget which show it was, they were talking about it. It's actually been, it was Dennis on Submission Radio, and it's been 6 years since these two last fought, almost to the day, and it was 6 years before that those two first fought as well. So every 6 years, these two get into a cage and dust it up. So that's pretty funny. I like that connection. Of course, it was Max's first fight, and it's going to be Dustin's last fight against him. But yeah, Dustin's role in the UFC. Like you said, I could see him in a lot of places. I would like to see him sat by the cage side, reacting to fights and discussing what's going off in that Dominic Cruz kind of role. I always get mixed up what everything's cool. But yeah, that Dominic Cruz, maybe Michael Bisping role, chatting, talking some shit maybe, and saying, "Oh look, he's just hit that guy with the cleanest left hook I've ever seen in my life. Congratulations, blah 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 blah." Yeah, so that kind of thing. But as you said, he could be in the studio. I just don't get to see very much studio stuff, so I'd rather see him by the side of the cage. Kick Joe Rogan out. When Dana goes, you can replace Joe Rogan with Dustin Poirier. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Come to the mouse for your solutions.
Well, Austin, go ahead. What do you think? What do you got?
I think you should start him on Contender Series, but he's already been on the broadcast, I think, a handful of times. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not at the commentary desk, but he's been at the studio desk.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's a perfect place for him to just kind of be there. If he's not going to be a guy who replaces Joe Rogan, which I think everybody in the sport, unless you're a Joe Rogan stan, and God forbid if you are, most of us would just like a replacement for what that represents. And there is a handful of times when you get a fighter in that role. It just depends on where they match up the broadcast on the road, who is available for that broadcast that's already not booked for some other broadcast and whatnot. You can make some match however many there are. I think Jed Meshew said it best, like 3 years max, or 3 years minimum, 5 years max, I think, for a broadcaster. That's fine. I don't. Joe Rogan's definitely overstayed his welcome, and there's a handful of guys that are there that are just kind of like, hey, hit or miss, depending on how you match them up. And I doubt Dustin Poirier would be a bad matchup with anybody that he's there with. Very insightful, just a lovable character, and generally like a fan favorite anyway. So he can only improve the broadcast. Honestly, if we're just talking about him and the UFC's relationship, there is a possibility that he does become a part of the business adventure of whatever they decide to get into next. I'd hate for him to be on a slap, commentary fest. I can see that. He might also be one of those dudes that they just stick into the TKO boxing venture that they got going on as a color guy.
True,
hey,
too.
we have this broadcast coming up. There's a fight that we want you to be a part of and stuff like that. Like, there's opportunities. I think the worst thing that you could do for Dustin is sideline him and not give him an opportunity to just be able to do things that he wants. Because that's the one thing that the UFC is very consistent with. Either they are okay with you doing other stuff because you have their blessing, and sometimes you kick them a little extra on the side. Neither here nor there. No one knows what I'm talking about, and that's fine. But there's also the possibility that, hey, we give you the ability to do this in resort. You don't fight for anybody else. That's their one thing. They don't want to share you with anybody else. They're like that really, really high-strung couple. That's also toxic, where one will be allowed to kind of do whatever they want, and the other one usually has a gun at their back ahead in case they ever go to somebody else. But again, there's a possibility that they are in a good relationship with him, and that he does do other stuff with their blessing, and it doesn't interfere him in his post-fighting life, or they give him an opportunity to do something else. But until then, I'm cautiously optimistic at the things that he will get into, as long as the UFC doesn't interfere.
Mm-mm.
They don't call him. They don't call him a diamond for nothing. He's not a diamond. He's a diamond in the rough. This guy shines. He's got the personality. He's got the skills. He's got the knowledge. He doesn't need to do this particularly as a job. I don't believe. I think he's coasting for the amount of money he's made. Sorry. As someone said, he visited the bank of Red Panty Night a couple of times, and Connor has provided him a very nice lifestyle. Thank you very much. So yeah. Good luck to Dustin wherever he does. But I hope we see him in the UFC, as you said, in some kind of visible role.
I think, that's kind of my thing. I think that there's no way they just let him. Here's your walking papers. Go enjoy retirement. It's been nice knowing you. He's too valuable of a commodity to them because of the McGregor fights, because of all the various feats and accomplishments he's had throughout his career, and just the fact of who he is as a dude, as a regular guy, I think that when you have somebody as marketable as he is, the guy's doing Bud Light commercials, and he's been in a couple of movies, and he's face of your organization and all these different things, they're going to want to keep him around. And I think that if he's not wanting to do a cage side commentary role, which it kind of seems like he's not, because I think that if he was considering that, they would have him doing some side gigs, doing commentary for some of these smaller promotions that they air on Fight Pass, because they do that with a lot of their fighters already. Which is sort of interesting. Michael Chiesa is the only remaining active fighter who is a UFC commentator, even though he only does studio desk. But he's done sideline reporting for them as well on Fight Pass for their BJJ invitationals and stuff. So technically, he's the only active commentator and fighter. So, and that's something that they used to not do. They would be, grooming these guys, for lack of a better term, while they were still fighting on the live commentary desk to slide into that role once they retired. And they kind of stopped doing that. They fell out of practice with that. But anyway, I'm digressing. If he doesn't want to go into that role, which it seems he doesn't, they should bring him on as almost like what they've done with Forrest Griffin. Make him just a brand ambassador. Make him a face of your brand. You could stick him in any number of different roles. Just kind of have him always be present, always be visible. Like, oh, there's Dustin Poirier. Like, it's UFC fucking Fan Expo. Oh, look, there's DP. Like, of course he's here. He's a face of the brand. Like, he's that kind of guy where I've never met anyone who's like, oh, I can't fucking stand Dustin Poirier. That guy's a fucking dick. Like, he's one of my least favorite fighters. Like, remember when he did da-da-da? Like, no, that's just not who the guy is. He's a lovable character. Keep him around in whatever aspect you can.
Yeah, you just don't want it with you saying Forrest Griffin all the time. It's just reminded me of what was his name? The guy who won the other week was going
Josh
to
Van.
Yeah, Joshua Van, who said, the what I can't remember what they call the training center now. My mind has gone blank.
The PI guy.
Yeah, the PI guy. Yeah. Imagine.
You don't know who Forrest Griffin is?
I didn't even know
Who? Forrest Griffin? The PI guy. Yeah.
The PI guy. Oh, no.
Poirier, the PI guy, 10 years in the future.
That's true, yeah. 20 years, some kid will be like, oh, yeah, Dustin Poirier, that's the PI guy.
Yeah. But I don't know how much. Oh, sorry. Is that Austin?
Yeah, I was going to say, that hurt my soul when I heard that.
Yeah, I think everybody suddenly realised how old they were compared to this young brat. Yeah, but I don't know how much longer we're going to keep going, but we haven't done this one, I don't think, and we're not going to do a preview show. But and there's only really one fight we care about on the card next week, so a quick preview on that one. Who you got on this one, Austin? Because I know you're a long-time huge fan of Max Holloway. I remember how upset you were when he got lost last time, and we've just been talking about Poirier. We all love that guy too. So who are you going to be picking in this one, man? This is going to be a hard choice for you, surely.
I know. I think I talked to Daz about this, and Daz is a man whose opinion I respect, and he said something similar. He can't wait for this fight just so he doesn't have to worry about what happens after or the result. And I kind of felt the same way, where you just want it to be over regardless of how it goes, just so one guy's done and retired, the other guy either is benefiting from it or there's like at least a light at the end of the tunnel for him. Because my biggest issue with this one was Max already has 2 losses to Dustin. This is Max's technically 3rd fight at lightweight, right? His first fight was against Dustin, and inside the UFC, I should say. When they had the interim title fight, that was a banger. The Dustin and Max interim title fight, the same card as Brian Campbell loves to bring up as Israel Adesanya and Kevin Gastelum. That was also for the interim titles. And The context for me, this one was like it doesn't. Max needs to win to be a contender in this division. Dustin has nothing to lose. It does not matter if it's a split decision, knockout, doesn't matter. He's done after this. It matters for Max's continued future at lightweight. And it just happens to be a guy that he's already lost twice to. Now, I'm going to be picking Max by virtue of it will be I'm hoping, a tough, hard fight, similar to what we saw with Islam for Dustin, where it's going to go the distance. There's possibly going to be a finish in the 4th or 5th, maybe. But it's hard. It's a hard fight. And I'm not going to hold, any judgment on it. I'm just going to be living in the moment of the fight happening, and hopefully that neither man has serious damage coming out of it. We already know how they fight, so that's probably not going to be the case. But that we get the opportunity to see Max not get set back, but we also get to see Dustin walk out and just go out on his own terms. Win, lose, or draw. I am still going to be picking Max on this one, and I do believe it is going to go the distance, and that Max will take a close decision. But it's already going to be hard to watch that fight, so there's a lot of emotions going to be happening, I'm sure.
Lazy, what you got on that one?
Well, I'll tell you right off the bat that I got my Max Holloway blinders on. I got my positivity goggles on. My optimism shades are on my head because, yeah, man, the last time when Max fought Poirier and what happened, we will not discuss. But yeah, me and Austin I think we were about ready to fucking quit MMA. We were about ready to just fucking just call it a career. It was done. We were finished. The fandom was over. So I will admit, though, since then I have gone back and I've watched that fight, and my respect for Ilia Topuria has grown because of it, because of what he was able to accomplish. And I've moved on from the fact that has happened. So, yeah, anyhow, there are emotions invested into this fight, obviously. Max Holloway, my favorite fighter. But at the same time, optimism goggles aside, I genuinely feel like that fight against Poirier was a bad decision. I think it was a bad choice to go back down to 45 after already moving up to 55 correctly when he took on Justin, which he went up to 55 incorrectly when he took on Dustin the second time in his career, but the first time at 55, you know what I'm saying? He was pudgy for that fight. He just, it was not the correct way to move up. When he took on Justin at 55, he did it the right way, and you've seen the results, and you've seen the look of his physique, etc. So I thought that was a stupid choice to ever go back down to face Ilia, but I understand it because it was for the featherweight title, and it was more than likely, definitely his last crack he was ever going to have at the belt. That was his belt for a long time. So I got it. Anyhow, we're moving back up now to 55, and I think once again we're doing it the right way. We're doing it the correct way. I think it's going to show in Max's physique and his performance. On the other side, on the flip side of the coin, you got a Dustin Poirier who has known and said and made it public for months now that this is his final fight. This is his last dance, etc., etc. So I even posted the picture on a Discord of the drawing that his daughter gave him. It said, Daddy, I love you. I'm so glad you're done fighting, or whatever it was. So this is a dude that this has been weighing heavy on his mind for some time. That ain't a good sign. That's not a good thing to do in combat sports, especially in a huge situation like this. Main event, hometown, a big arena, friends and family, I'm sure, all these different things. And a Max Holloway who's coming in, looking to get right and looking to get some revenge and looking to not be the guy that loses 2 trilogies to 2 different guys. and goes complete over in those two trilogies. So I think that we're looking at a Holloway who's coming in determined. He's going to come in looking good, in shape. I think he's going to be sharp and on point. I think that Dustin is still going to present, a fair amount of obstacles, and he's still going to put a lot of opposition in the way, and he's not going to go down easy. So I agree with Austin. It probably goes to a decision. But I think that Max is going to pull this off, and I think that we're all going to come out of this, one, glad and grateful and happy that Dustin is finally done, and he is going to get to enjoy some time with his family and enjoy retirement. But I think, two, we're also going to walk away with it saying, Max Holloway is not done. Max Holloway is not finished, and he is still a contender, and he's especially going to be a contender now at 55 with a dedicated regiment for that weight class. So I got Max Holloway by decision.
Okay. I'll go on, Austin. That gives me time to look.
No, that's it. He said it perfectly. I have no other follow up. Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. It's a clean sweep from us on this one. I will also be picking Max Holloway to win this one, also by decision. I don't think either one of them is going to get a finish in this one. What I'd really, really love to see in this one is a 5-round war where somewhere in the 5th round, whoever's slightly ahead makes some egregious foul and the referee has to take a point and it ends up as a draw. That would be just fucking amazing. A fan, a Hollywood ending kind of thing. With
would be so.
Yeah, with no sequel. There's not going to be another fight after this. Poirier walks off into the distance with his honor intact, and so does Max. But yeah, I have to pick Max. He's the thing I was going to check was age. I forget exactly how old Dustin is, but I know he's several years older than Max. And I think Max is in his very early 30s, isn't he? Like 32, 33?
Yes.
Yeah. So Max is pretty much in his prime. I know he's lightweight now, so that's his prime pretty much. Whereas Poirier is obviously coming to the end of his career. So yeah, I have to hope for Max. I mean, Poirier, no ill will whatsoever. He's an amazing guy, amazing fighter. I hope he puts on a fantastic performance. But yeah, I have to pick Max on this one, I think.
I will add, as a caveat for Larry, who most certainly will be listening to this because he did request that we resume the Sunday Night Scuffle. Dustin does have a chance, Larry. Dustin is very live here. There's always that possibility with his skills and his abilities. He could edge this one out. He could very well spark Max. It could happen. We don't. Maybe the chin is cracked, Larry. Maybe. I know you're thinking it. I disagree, but maybe the chin is cracked. You could be right. Anyhow.
Yeah, I don't think Max's chin is broken just yet. Just that one occasion. Yeah,
and I think that was also due to the weight cut. But I wanted to give Larry his due diligence there.
Yeah, we do not dislike Dustin, but this is just where I feel the most comfort picking the fight, and just based off of a lot of things. Win, lose, or draw, I'd have no ill will, and I will forever respect Dustin. That's the thing.
Yeah, if this hadn't been like a long thought out and planned out and long announced, farewell song and farewell performance, I would maybe be a bit more hesitant to pick Max. But being that this is like you can't know that this is your last time you're ever gonna go in there and put your life on the line and get me to believe that you're gonna go in there and really lay it out there the way that you always have. Like, it's got to be in the back of his mind that the door's right there, the exit's right there.
Yeah, it's always dangerous with the retiring fighters.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Dana should take his own advice. When you're thinking about retirement, you should probably leave. So bye, Dana. Off you toddle. Off to God's boxing. He did mention it earlier in the year, so
He did.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think that's actually a pretty good place to wrap up. I think this actually might have been one of the best scuffles we've ever done. It felt good.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
It was good to be back, guys.
It sure does. Glad to have you back, Austin.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good to have you back, man. I have to talk less, which is always a good thing.
Well, not only are we glad to have Austin back, but we are glad to have each and every one of you out there that tuned in and listened to this here edition of the Sunday Night Scuffle. We will be back at you in just about a week with the weekend roundup live on the Monday morning, 9 a.m. before morning combat. So please hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and also join us there for the weekend roundup. So, LazyBed, I'm him. That's DangerMouse. He is he. And that's Austin over there. That guy right there. So, say goodbye, guys. We're out of here.
Yeah, are we out?
Later.
We'll see you soon. Don't stop recording, Dave. Just yet, Dave. Tag this on at the end. Don't forget to join us for our Tuesday night, Sunday night scuffle.
That's right.
Oh, we've started recording. Shit.
Fuck John Jones. Everybody good? Everybody ready?
Yep.
Austin, I asked Austin something, and he said he'd need a minute. Will you be my date to the White House fights in 2026?
No, I'm afraid
Austin!
not. No.